Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to look at the Shattering. So this is, I think it's book 5 here. Book 5 of the Guardians of Ga'Hoole by Kathryn Lasky. Now, if you have not seen the introduction, let alone the first 4 books, check out those reviews, otherwise this will not make sense. So again, this is one of those book series that you have to read in order. So let's look at this book. So in this book, this is taking place roughly right after the after the siege and the final battle there in the previous book. And our main character, Soren's sister, why on earth can I not remember her name? Eglantine is having some interesting dreams where she's missing her parents, obviously, and she misses her childhood, essentially. She's still a very young owl here. And so she's having dreams of being back home. And this other owl by the name of Ginger, who supposedly has abandoned the pure ones and wants to be a better owl. And she's kind of encouraging this. You definitely get an impression that Ginger is taking Eglantine away from the other group. She specifically, we get from perspective of Primrose, who's her friend, who had been kind of under the wing a little bit of Soren at one point in time. And Eglantine had actually moved from her sleeping quarters with her brother to share rooms with Primrose. And Ginger has now joined them and is pulling Eglantine away from Primrose and kind of allowing her to have these dreams. Now you pick up pretty quickly that her other brother, their older brother, who's in charge of the pure ones, the masked evil, I cannot remember his name. Basically he's the head of the pure ones, and his first name starts with a K, and I can never remember it, but he's the chief bad guy. He's encouraging this. He's secretly trying to essentially get his sister out of there, because again, she's a barn owl like him. And to him, part of that would be revenge against his brother Soren, who Soren obviously attacked him, and is very much seen as a leader in the Ga'Hoole of the Guardians, because he's moving up kind of in the ranks to an extent, even though he's relatively young as well. But so they're trying to essentially destroy her, almost I think as revenge, or at least trying to control her. And the other thing that's kind of going on, besides the very obvious of them trying to capture Eglantine, is they're dealing with the fallout of what happened with the other owl, one of the guardians, one of the teachers, who during the siege was not only hoarding food, but she was leaking information. And basically the young owls have been told that she's shattered. Basically, she's gone crazy. Her brain has basically been damaged. Now, Soren doesn't really believe this. Neither does his friend. And let's see if she's in here. I can't remember her name. It's not one of the other barn owls who's been massively changed by what has happened. And let's see if I can skim through her name here. And Odessa, because she was there when her mentor was killed. So she's pissed because they're basically, this other owl who they betrayed them, basically they're saying she goes crazy. Now they eventually talk to Soren's teacher, and he's like, no, she's not shattered. She's gone a little nuts, but she's just very old and doesn't get it. And she's heartbroken. more than shattered. Her brain isn't crazy. She's just heartbroken because she thought the pure ones would take better care of the tree, and she ended up realizing that she nearly killed everybody. And she was also hoarding food because, again, they were under siege. While everybody else was starving, she had been hoarding food for herself. And so basically it's kind of agitating. So Odalys is dealing with that, and have a whole bunch of problems dealing with this siege. Primarily, a lot of this is being told by the point of view of Primrose, who's seeing her friend slowly basically be taken away. You also see them preparing for war, where their teacher, the old warrior, is preparing them, doing all sorts of different weather studies, and her Eglantine's brother Soren and his friends are doing different things, and she's almost feeling very left out. So Eglantine and Ginger's pushing this. She's pushing her isolation. She's pushing Eglantine to be apart from her brother and encouraging her, being irritated that she's being left behind and a whole bunch of stuff like this. And Primrose is seeing this, and she doesn't like it. She wants her friend back. She's studying. She's paying a lot of attention to what the heck Soren's and his friends are doing. She does want to be part of it. She's learning. And then, of course, they're discovering a couple other things that happened with, of course, this other older lady, Owl. How she was destroying books and getting things that were basically things that would have helped in the coming war. And you also, I believe, I kind of almost started in the next book. I believe at the end of this book, double check the end of this. So, yeah, it's at the end of this book where Eglantine is kidnapped, and fireworks. That makes no sense. It's the 3rd of January. We should not be having more fireworks. Just so you know when the heck this is being filmed. We're in 2022 here. Literally, like the very beginning. This is the 3rd of January of 2022. So there shouldn't be fireworks going on. But moving on. So near the end of this, Eglantine is kidnapped, as is Primrose. Because Primrose kind of goes out and notices that the older brother, the head of the group, the head of the Pure Ones, is outside. So she's kidnapped. Eglantine is then kidnapped. Ginger obviously goes with them because she's a spy, and her job was to help get Eglantine kidnapped. And they're both dropped and basically in a hole where they're essentially being surrounded by magnetism, and essentially they're trying to destroy their brains. But Eglantine also realizes something. Her older brother, his wife, mate has an egg. So you have the precious orb, because it's an egg, and she's trying to hatch it. And Eglantine eventually breaks free of what they're shattering. She's being nearly shattered, and having her brain messed with. Because I'm guessing Ginger was putting this magnetite into her nest, into where she was sleeping, to slowly mess with her mind. And so she breaks free of this because she hasn't been completely shattered. Primrose isn't completely shattered. They break free. Eglantine, steals the egg. She knows what this is. She knows how valuable this is. She's pissed off. Because again, older brother tried to basically brainwash her. And he's trying to basically take over the world. Because again, as I mentioned in the previous book, it is very much revealed that the Pure Ones are Owl versions of Nazis. So they're very much any grouping that thinks they're better than anybody else, and they want to eliminate or control all other subspecies. So barn owls rule in this, at least for the Pure Ones. They think barn owls are superior. So again, owl Nazis. So Eglantine gets the egg, and she escapes with Primrose. And they're being chased, obviously, because her owl sister-in-law wants her egg back and is pissed off because this is the future for her. And this will, I think, lead into other books, because I think they Eventually there is an egg. That egg is destroyed, yes. Eventually, Eglantine drops that egg and it is completely shattered and destroyed. So Soren, obviously, when Eglantine and Primrose go missing, they go out searching for her. They eventually find them. There's a forest fire because there's always these people tend to deal with fires quite a bit. And eventually they rescue them. The orb is destroyed. And at the end of this, we're kind of leading into the next book, which is The Burning, where Eglantine, Soren, Twilight, Griffey, Digger, I don't know if Primrose is going along with them, and of course Odalissa are being sent, at least originally, to take this old owl, basically the one Odalissa cannot stand, to the monks where their Soren's mentor at one point in time had been. Basically, go to retirement, get the heck out of here. You're you need to not be here anymore because you were causing problems and you're old and you need to be retired. And you can be taken care of by these monks. And they have to go into the north to do this. Now, during the meeting for this, word is brought that the Pure Ones have taken over St. Aggie's, which was the orphaned owls, and that has a ton of this mica, these basically magtite. And so, oh, sorry, I have a cat in my lap who's vicious and biting. Kendra. So, this causes problems. So, now they have, and now of course they think it's like, okay, are we going to be pushed out of this? Because normally they were sent out of the meeting, then they were brought back in. It's like, no. Soren's mentor is like, no, we need to do, this is what we need to do. And along with going and escorting her, do not attack me, cat, to the monks, you need to start helping us recruit other owls from the north. Because we need help. We need another army to help defend us, because with all this magtite, they can shatter our, basically they can destroy us. They can destroy our minds, and they can destroy everything, and they have all this power. We need help. And then of course at the very end, Soren's teacher, let me bring up his name, and I never pronounce his name, Ezravid. Yeah, can't pronounce that. But he had been a great warrior. He passes his battle claws to Soren. It's like, you are the leader. This is your part of your job. This is also your gateway, because when people, other owls, see that you have this, they know that you're my emissary. You know, they realize that you represent me. And that essentially he refers to him as his ward. He is the apprentice, so to speak, of this older owl. And these owls in the north will know that. They'll see these battle claws, realize they've been passed down to Soren, and that Soren speaks for him. And though it will get him more contacts, and it will get him trusted. And that is essentially what his role is, and that's in the next book. So that's how this is. It's very much a setup for this other massive battle that's going to be coming in the next book, which is The Burning, which is literally sitting right next to me, is my next thing. I have not read it yet. That's the other thing. When you're watching these videos, I am reading these as I go along, so I do not know how this comes forward. So if you like the ending, that's really it for this video. We will move on to The Burning. That will be the next video. Again, I am covering all of these. As of this moment in time, I have The Burning and a couple of others. One other warning, and I mentioned this in the previous video, there are going to be, I'm not going to be able to have physical copies of everything because my library doesn't have them all, and they're no longer in print. Not the book series, just the physical copies. They're now only in ebook form. So if you can find them used, I prefer physical forms. Massive pet peeve of mine. I'm not going to get into it, but when it comes to children's books, I hate that they're pushing them more digital and getting rid of the physical option. So, thinking, as of right now, my library doesn't have, I think it's the coming of the whole. I could be wrong. I'm trying to think. I have the Burning. I have the Outcast. Obviously, these are from my library. Yeah, the Coming of the Whole, I'm going to have to get in ebook form. And then oddly enough, I believe it's the War of the Ember, or it could be Exile. I think it's the War of the Ember that I have actually had to request through my library because they don't even have an ebook copy. So I put that in for request. I may end up buying it just because I need to get these done. So that is the end of this review. If you like what you see, be sure to check out the rest of the channel. By the time these things are coming out, I will have a decent sized library of videos from book series like this, which is going to be big here in 2023. I've already covered a couple other book series that by the time you guys see this, in 2023, I'll have covered the Princess Diaries, along with the little, the notebooks of a middle school princess as well will be in there. I'll have both, Tamora Pierce book series, the Song and Alliance Quartet, and Wild Magic, which is the Immortals Quartet, that will be covered. Prior to that, I will have, before that, I had covered all of the Circle of Magic and the Circle Opens Quartet, though I do believe I have the Will of the Empress scheduled. So all of that will have been covered. So I've done all of that. If you're looking at book series, I've also covered John Flanagan's The Ranger's Apprentice, and then I did a horror book series, probably the only one that I'm actually going to cover. I'm not big on horror, but that would be the Last Apprentice series by Joseph Delaney. So that's been covered as well. I'm trying to think if there's any other book series that I covered. So those are the major book series right now. I'm planning to cover another Meg Cabot book series after I finish with these books. And then, of course, I will finish up. I own almost all of Tamora Pierce's books. So I will cover the other two major series at some point as well. I also cover a lot of standalone stuff, children's picture books, some more education stuff. We are a secular homeschooling family, so my mind is set on how these things work in education, which I'll talk a little bit more about, particularly with this series, just because there's a lot of interesting owl interactions going on here. So once I finished with them and have final thoughts on these things. So be sure to check out the channel. I do fiction. I do nonfiction. I do children's books. I do blog series like this. I do educational stuff. By the time you guys see this, my toddler is going to be close to 4, which is frightening considering she's about 2.5 as of the shooting of this video. But we will have more education stuff, board games, hopefully more travel stuff. That's the big thing. I already have, there should be more travel videos posted by the time you guys see this, just because, again, we're kind of stalled right now because it's early 2022. And, you know, COVID-19 pandemic, it's a thing. It's still a thing as of this video shooting. So by the time you guys see this, it should be done, I hope. And we're not in the middle of another pandemic. So hopefully we're going to have more travel stuff. So again, like and subscribe. Check out what I've got. Look forward to more. There's a lot more planned. Thank you.